Hello viewers, welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a show where we'll provide you fresh insights into South Asia's geopolitical, strategic and security situation. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Christians face extreme persecution in Pakistan. Pakistan-based terrorists shift focus to local recruitment as infiltration efforts thwarted at line of control. And Afghan women confront fresh challenges as Taliban ban education and work. Let's begin the show. Christians in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan have faced ongoing suffering due to the oppressive blasphemy laws. These laws have been repeatedly exploited through false accusations, causing significant harm. Instead of safeguarding the vulnerable, Pakistan has turned blasphemy into a weapon against religious minorities, resulting in serious ramifications. This disturbing trend highlights the importance of religious freedom and tolerance, calling for international attention and action to address these issues. Our report delves into this issue.
Heavy heart, I strongly condemn the brutal attack.
In a show of solidarity and outrage, on August 21, Christians from across Europe gathered outside the Pakistan High Commission in London and condemned the escalating cases of church burnings, desecrations, and attacks targeting the Christian community in Pakistan. The protest was triggered by the recent barbaric attack on multiple churches and hundreds of Christian residences in Jallianwala, Pakistan, which was allegedly sparked by the desecration of the Quran. The demonstrators urged the international community to cognizance of the issue and bring perpetrators to justice. The focal point of the protest was the arrest of a young Christian under Pakistan's Blasphemy law and the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act of 2016. The individual was taken into custody for reposting and sharing content that was perceived as inflammatory, contributing to the escalating hostilities against Christians in the Jallianwala region. A fact-finding report by Human Rights Focus revealed the extent of the violence in Jallianwala. A staggering total of 19 churches were gutted down and 89 Christian homes were burned down in the recent wave of violence.
Pakistan, remember, is fundamentally a feudal agrarian society that in most parts still exists in the 7th or the 11th century. And the characteristic of that society is, the spreading of gossip and rumors followed by large lynch mobs that target religious establishments, usually for some kind of political or personal reason, but masked up as religious whatever. So it's not very surprising what has happened out there.
The incident highlights the discrimination faced by Christians under Pakistan's constitution. In 2017, a Christian man named Ashfaq Masih was accused of blasphemy and was sentenced to death by a Pakistani court. The accusation of blasphemy was made a few days after a dispute involving a Muslim customer who refused to pay his bill. In 2013, Shagufta Kausar and Shafakat Emmanuel, a Christian couple, were arrested and charged with blasphemy for allegedly sending a text message in English that was considered offensive of Muhammad. Furthermore, there were at least 344 cases of violence against Christians in Pakistan, according to the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan in 2022. This included 10 killings, 138 cases of forced conversions, and 194 cases of blasphemy accusations. This relentless discrimination has resulted in a dwindling Christian population in Pakistan. According to a Pakistan Bureau of Statistics report 2017, Christians now constitute 1.27% of the country's population, down from the earlier 1.59% in 1998.
This is not the first time Christian are suffering. This has been happening for a long time now. Christians are suffering with blasphemy law. No Christian will ever desecrate the Quran. These are all blames. Since the partition, Jinnah's two-nation theory is lingering around up till now, because they've been told in school, colleges, in universities that Hindu and Muslim cannot live together. And same thing they applying on Christians, on Sikhs, on Ahmadis, so they cannot live together, because we are, according to Muslim community, according to this set mind, they think we are kafir and we should be killed.
Pakistan's blasphemy laws, introduced in the 1980s, criminalize insults or acts deemed offensive to Islam and can carry severe punishments, including the death penalty. However, in reality, these laws have been used to silence dissent and target religious minorities and force them into convergence, forcefully marry Muslims, and even usurp their land and belongings. As the protests outside the Pakistan High Commission in London vividly illustrate, the global community's attention is firmly fixed on the plight of Christians in Pakistan. The incident raises urgent questions about the need to reform in Pakistan's legal and social framework to protect the rights and safety of all its citizens, regardless of their religious beliefs.
Moving on. Pakistan-based terrorist organizations are continuing their efforts to disturb peace and tranquility in Jammu and Kashmir, be it sponsoring narco-terrorism or the supply of illegal arms and ammunition. Various terrorist organizations that are active in Jammu and Kashmir are now misleading the local youth to join their outfit. We have this report. These stringent security measures along the line of control have foiled the attempts of Pakistan-based terrorist groups to infiltrate into the region of Jammu and Kashmir. Consequently, these groups are now turning their attention to ensnaring local Kashmiri youth to recruitment into their ranks. On August 18, a joint operation conducted by the Jammu and Kashmir Police and the Indian Army successfully dismantled a Lashkar-e-Taiba terror module in Baramulla district of North Kashmir. This operation led to the arrest of 8 terror associates operating in the region. These associates were involved in smuggling arms and ammunition across the border under the instructions of their Pakistani handlers. The security forces confiscated a huge cache of arms, ammunition, identity cards and mobile phones from the arrested terror associates.
ये 5 लोगों का जो मॉड्यूल है, इसको जब हमने गिरफ्तार किया तो इनके पास से भी हमें जो है 4 हैंड ग्रेनेड्स, 2 पिस्टल्स, 2 पिस्टल मैगजीन्स, 10 लाइव राउंड्स और 50,000 रुपये नकद कैश जो है बरामद हुई है और इनकी एक 4 व्हीलर व्हीकल भी जो है हमने इस केस में सीज की है। ये टोटल जो दोनों केसेस रजिस्टर हुए हैं, इसमें आज तक 8 लोगों की गिरफ्तारियां है।
अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे सिवाय खंड 1 के।
After the amendment of Article 370 and Article 35A from Jammu and Kashmir, the security forces have tightened their grip over the unlawful activities, especially those responsible for disrupting peace and brotherhood in the Union territory. Last month, authorities in Kulgam district busted a terror recruitment module by apprehending Rubani Bashir, also known as Dr. Sabil, a PhD holder from the Central University of Kashmir. He has been accused of identifying, funding and motivating local youth for terror-related activities. Jammu and Kashmir has been witnessing a period of rapid development with infrastructure projects, increased tourism and expanding business opportunities. However, these developments are at odds with Pakistan's agenda, prompting the neighboring country to redirect its efforts towards radicalizing local youth. Despite the advancements, security forces remain vigilant, disrupting attempts to disturb the peace and harmony of the region.
Pakistan is making all-out attempt to speed up terrorism in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The reasons are very, very obvious. If you look at the state of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, it is seen that there is absolutely no terror activities taking place in Ladakh or up north. The terrorists today are scared of attacking the security forces, and the terror attacks are actually restricted to only attacking the soft targets. So therefore, terrorism as such is not looking up at all. And this is after great attempt by Pakistan to increase it. So as far as Pakistan is concerned, Kashmir is an obsession for them. They are not bothered about their economic problems. They are not bothered about their political problems, but they feel that Kashmir they must speak about. And one would remember that some time back when there was the economic meet of G20 countries, the Pakistani foreign minister who came there to speak in the economic meet, instead of talking about economic affairs, spoke about Jammu and Kashmir.
The people of Jammu and Kashmir have begun to experience the dividends of peace, a result of the region's improved security situation and developmental policies implemented by the central government. This shift is causing residents to recognize the losses they have endured over decades due to terrorism and violence. Pakistan's efforts to propagate its narrative on Jammu and Kashmir at the international level have been undermined by the stark realities on the ground. Areas under Pakistan's forceful occupation, with former princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, are grappling with widespread poverty, corruption, inflation, and unemployment. These conditions stand in stark contrast to the progress being made within the Jammu and Kashmir. As the security forces continue to tighten their grip on unlawful activities, Pakistan-based terrorist groups are resorting to new tactics while targeting local Kashmiri youth for recruitment. However, these efforts are being met with countermeasures as the people of Jammu and Kashmir increasingly value the peace and development that have become a reality in the region. On August 21st, United Nations observed the International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism. The United Nations commemorated the day for the 6th time, and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged the international community to stand in solidarity with those affected by terrorism and to redouble efforts to combat this scourge. The United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism has launched a number of initiatives to commemorate the International Day. These include the Legacy Project, which features the voices of terrorism and victims and survivors from around the world. The UNOCT is also calling on governments, businesses, and civil society organizations to take action to prevent terrorism and to support victims and survivors.
Every August 21, the United Nations observes International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism in solidarity with those whose lives were irreversibly impacted by terrorism. The United Nations commemorated the day for the 6th time recently. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged the UN members to stand in solidarity with those affected by the terrorism. It was also a day to acknowledge the unmatched contribution of those who stood resolute in the face of overwhelming odds to protect humanity and its interests.
We come together to remember the victims and survivors of terrorism, to stand with the families changed forever, and to resolve to build a more peaceful future together. The theme of this year's International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism is Legacy, Finding Hope and Building a Peaceful Future. On this day, we pay our respects to all those lost or harmed through terrorist attacks around the world. We pay tribute to the extraordinary work of those victims and survivors who have resolved to use their experiences to bring about change.
Terrorism knows no boundaries and affects people from all walks of life. On November 26, 2008, India suffered one of the deadliest terror attacks in its history. The orchestrated attacks were executed by 10 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists who sailed from the Pakistani port city of Karachi to Mumbai. The horrific attack continued for over 3 days before the Indian forces took down 9 of these terrorists. Among their ranks, Ajmal Kasab was the only one captured alive. He too, however, met his fate at the hands of justice 4 years after the incident. The 26/11 attacks claimed 166 lives, including foreign nationals, while around 300 people were left injured. Among the stories of bravery and tragedy, Karambir Singh Kang stands out. As the general manager of Mumbai's iconic Taj Mahal Hotel during the 26/11 terror attacks, he faced unimaginable adversity. Kang lost his wife and child during the barbaric assault. However, he and his team's heroism garnered worldwide recognition for their efforts in saving numerous lives amidst the chaos.
Two terrorists came through the lobby, two came through another entrance, started indiscriminately shooting. I was not at the hotel when the attack happened. When I entered the lobby, I just saw dead bodies. I saw bullet marks. Terrorism is borderless. It can happen anywhere, anytime. United Nations needs to pull its weight on some of these matters which globally affect all of us. And I think it's important that get all the countries to cooperate and to put an end to this scourge. It's not easy. It's easier said than done. But if there's resolve, anything can be done.
As part of the multifaceted initiatives commemorating the International Day, the United Nations Office of the Counter-Terrorism launched the Legacy Project. This innovative venture takes form as a documentary gallery on Instagram featuring the voices of terrorism victims and survivors from around the globe. The Legacy Project seeks to honor lives lost or forever transformed by terrorism, while aiming to enlighten future generations about the enduring ramifications of such acts. The International Day of Remembrance and Tribute to the Victims of Terrorism stands as an unwavering testament to the unbreakable human spirit, even in the face of the darkest tragedies. Through remembrance, honor, and unwavering support for victims and survivors, the world reaffirms its resolute commitment to combat terrorism and construct a future characterized by peace, security, and unity.
Afghan women's lives are becoming more difficult as the Taliban control extends in Afghanistan. Due to the Taliban's restrictions on women working for international organizations and attending universities, women are suffering grave setbacks. However, the future of Afghan women is uncertain, but there is a hope for a better day when they will be free to pursue their ambitions without any restraints or fear. Have a look.
Amidst the ongoing chaos in Afghanistan, the Taliban has implemented a ban on women working and attending universities, shattering the hopes and efforts of Afghan women. The 27-year-old Afghan woman, Mariam, used to work as a database officer before the Taliban seized control. She then went on to become a teacher at a private school for girls, a job she was only able to hold on to for a year before the ban on girls' education. And now she has opened a sieving workshop. Mariam said she is gradually adapting to the new realities and is optimistic. Not someone who gives up easily. Mariam decided to open a sieving workshop 6 months ago, hiring 15 of her former colleagues who had lost their jobs under Taliban's rule. She trained the women to stitch traditional Afghan clothes and hijabs, taking advantage of the one-year course she attended 4 years ago. Their products are now sold online to both domestic and foreign customers.
هیچ وقت عقب نشینی نکردم، تسلیم نشدم، بازم ادامه دادم. گفتم که خب خیر، درس خانه است، مکتب دروازه‌اش بسته شد، پانتون بسته شد، اما افکار ما بسته نشده. یعنی ما میتونیم که از افکار خود استفاده کنیم و هیچ وقت نگوییم که دیر است یا ما ممنوعیت است.
Mariam said the number of their customers increased in a short period of time, and she is optimistic that the business will keep growing in other countries like Germany, the US, and Canada one day with the help of her relatives residing there. The Taliban's return to power after the withdrawal of NATO and US forces has presented significant difficulties for Afghan women. For many women who enjoyed extensive rights and freedoms during the 2 decades of rule by Western-backed governments, their plight has become dire since the return of the Taliban. However, the situation is complicated. The Taliban assert that they uphold women's rights in accordance with their interpretation of Islamic law and Afghan culture.
فکرشم نمیکنم که طالبا بتونن بگیرن دولته. باز اونم که گرفتن و همش باز این محدودیتایشون که روز به روز زیاد شده رفت یا بیخی مشکلات زیاد ایجاد کرده، بدترین روز به همه مردم افغانستان تا جایی که من فکر میکنم.
Closing high schools, universities, and work to women have raised major concerns about the future of women's rights in Afghanistan. The entire world keeps an eye on Afghanistan in anticipation of a time when Afghan women will once more be free to pursue their careers and aspirations without hindrance or any fear.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@nin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on the behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.